that shake, and whatever you got to do to get up this morning. Good morning, everyone. It's your boy JR, back from an unprecedented hiatus. No, took a week off last week, had some technical difficulties, couldn't get the show off the way we wanted, so 1,000 pardons and many apologies, but it is the TSA Hoops show. It's hoops, man. It's less than 2 weeks away from the NBA starting. We are smack dab in the middle, getting towards the end of the WNBA playoffs. Got tons of stuff happening around the league. Got to get you guys ready. So get up, get your coffee, get whatever you need to get going, tap in, get out of that early morning London show over in the NFL. You guys ain't playing yet. You don't need to set your lineups yet. We in here. You know what it is? The Hoop Show coming to you live every Sunday, 7:30 in the morning, Pacific Standard Time. It is a bright 7:30 here in sunny San Diego. And you know how we do things. So thank you again, guys, for listening, watching, and subscribing to this particular show on the TSA network. We know you guys have a lot of stuff to do throughout your day. You could be anywhere else, but you decide to tune in here. And if you love hoops just like I do, appreciate you using us as one of the platforms to get your information and, just talk sports and get out there. So appreciate your time. And don't forget, if you are just new to this channel, if you guys are tuning in because of someone else, somewhere else, make sure to hit that like, that subscribe button, because you know that what we'll do is we'll bring that info to you hot, live, and ready. If you guys are building your tickets for the day, any kind of exciting things that are going on with the sports affiliation and hoops, we will bring it to you here. And with that being said, let's get this show ready and rolling. We had a guest set up last week, and like I said, the show fell through on my end, so apologies to Donnie out there. Donnie, we're gonna get you back on, man. So if you're watching this right now, man, don't worry, we're gonna get you back in, because we always like for other people to give their input on the show. Unless you guys just like listening to me, then of course, possibly in the future, we're gonna go straight audio for the podcast on Spotify. So keep an eye or an ear out for that. So no guest today, but let's talk about what's on the menu today. Okay. Like I mentioned, we are in our game fours for the WNBA for the semifinals right now. And remember, those games are best of 5. Winners of each game will either survive and send it back to respectively New York and Minnesota, or we're going to see the New York Liberty versus the Minnesota Lynx in the WNBA finals. Both games jump off today. New York Liberty versus the Las Vegas Aces at Las Vegas at 12 Pacific Standard Time. Minnesota Lynx at Connecticut Sun at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you guys tune in there. We're also going to be talking about some NBA because preseason has started. The cameras have been rolling. You see the hat, you see the logo, and that's my timeline right now is Bronny James. Bronny James and company. Maybe a little Russell Westbrook in there because Brody's been having himself a little bit of a time there over in Abu Dhabi. So we're going to be talking returning champs, the Boston Celtics. We're going to be talking about what Denver's doing with its new and slightly changed around personnel. We're also going to be building some tickets today, man. We got to try to get you guys some cash. We got to talk about what we did a couple weeks ago, how we've been doing so far in putting our lays down for our games. I mean, we made some predictions for the quarterfinals, so we got to let you guys know how we did. So we got a lot to talk about today, so much so that we're probably going an extra half hour today. So tune in. Let's get it rolling. Well, that being said, so 2 weeks ago, again, we kicked off the WNBA playoffs. You got your boy George on here, Hot Take City. He and I talked a lot about not just the betting aspect of the quarterfinals, but who we thought would come out of each of those series. And so, just to recap, I took all the home teams and all the home teams won. So knock on that. New York Liberty advance, Las Vegas advance, Connecticut advance, and Minnesota advance. And we also talked a little bit about the effect of what the fallout of Caitlin Clark if she would be missing from the playoffs going throughout, and nothing has fallen off. So shout out to the listeners and watchers out there for continuing to support and continuing to watch what has been some blockbuster moments for the WNBA. We have had some close games, y'all. So y'all need to tune in. And then let's talk about our bets real quick. So I don't know if you guys have been following me, particularly on X, but I have posted a couple of times. And if you have been tuning into the Discord, I'm just going to go ahead and throw it up right here. We're going to throw up our Discord right here at the bottom. Bam. Okay. So if you guys have been tuning into our Discord, we have also been posting up our bets for Prize Picks, Fliff, and other apps just to try to get things rolling. And so far, it's been about even kill. A couple of those tickets that we had built a couple weeks ago. Let's go over that real quick because it was actually pretty. It was pretty good payout. For all intents and purposes. Let's see here. Pulling up the old Prize Picks ticket. You guys let us know where you guys are doing your placing your lays at, placing your bets at. If you guys just have an interesting line out there, we're always taking good info. We're going to be doing a lot more of that as the season rolls on. Let's see past lineups. Okay. So one of the big ones, of course, we talked about was just half play, first half, second half. So we talked about, and this was during the initial round where we had, opening round. Asia Wilson, Ryan Howard, Gabby Williams, Caitlin Clark, Nafisa Collier, of course, who I've been talking up a lot this entire time, and Sophie Cunningham, the Phoenix Mercury, threw that in there. Talked about 3-pointer lays, talked about points lays. That ticket, we built a six player ticket, WNBA opening round. Asia Wilson, PRA 39. I put the under because I thought that number was a little high, and she actually hit 39, and it's the one time that she's hit that high in the entire playoffs. So if you guys, we'll get to it later, but if you guys are getting anything 38 or higher, make sure to go for the under again. Looks like it's pretty good for hitting. Ryan Howard of the Atlanta Dream. Shout out to the coach, by the way, that was just released not too long ago. Points, rebounds. Put the under. Hit 24, hit the over. So we missed on that one. Gabby Williams said, Gabby Williams of the Seattle Storm, who were putting together a great series, it looked like, against the Aces, and just kind of didn't get the job done. But Gabby Williams, shout out to her, and hopefully she comes back to the WNBA. Over on PRA for 21.5, she had 28. Caitlin Clark, I thought she was going to falter in her game, in one of her games versus Connecticut, where the line was 33 for PRA. She smashed it at 40. So shout out to Caitlin Clark. Can't wait to see what you do in the upcoming season. There's a lot of stuff going on. Another league that's going on that's started by Brianna Stewart. So we're going to get a little bit into that. I'm going to throw that info out on the website, sportsaffiliation.com, once we get a full diagnosis of what that league is. But hopefully she'll enter that and continue on with her magical miracle ways. Nafisa Collier, of course, we said PRA 35.5. She obliterated that. We bet the over. That was 51 that hit at the time. So that was good for the ticket. Sophie Cunningham, who typically hits about two to three 3-pointers a game for the Phoenix Mercury. Line was 1.5. took a chance, bet the under, hit. She only hit one for that particular game. But that was that one ticket that we had built a while back. We're going to do another one for you guys. Again, there's only 4 teams playing today, but it's still 4 more than you would have for any other NBA game at this point in time. So you guys need to tune in. So once we get to that later on the show, I'm going to bring that to you. So, that's about how we did. Again, we talked about betting on all the overs for the series. Hit on all those. We're gonna talk about how we believe how the games are gonna go for today. So make sure you guys have your phones or whatever app you use ready. You got your notepad. Take some notes down. It's going to be pretty important because those games one of them starts in 4 hours or less. So after you guys get your lineups ready and you get your slow cooker ready for whatever you're doing for your NFL, make sure to tune back in and get your tickets ready because not everyone's going to get that pick 6, okay? You're probably not going to hit that all the time. So moving on. Today, 12 o'clock, Las Vegas Aces host the New York Liberty. Again, this is a recap, a rematch of basically the last 2 finals. New York Liberty are very familiar and geared up, ready to take on Las Vegas Aces, Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, Kelsey Plum. The list goes on. On the other side, New York Liberty, Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, Jonquil Jones. The list goes on. If you have been tuning into each season and wondering why it's so hard to three-peat, look no further than this series because the things that have happened for the Aces haven't really transpired over the last couple of games, much more or less the season. They have a few more injuries this season for the Aces than they've had before, which caused for Asia Wilson to have to carry a couple of games, players to have to come out and try to score more than they're used to scoring. Had an unprecedented season with 1,000 points for Asia Wilson, but to the tune of being a 4th place team. On the other side, New York Liberty have led end to end, have been 100% healthy, have had a rising, very much improving star in Sabrina Ionescu. That time on Team USA for the Olympics has absolutely launched her into that next tier. So she's the leading scorer right now on the team with Breanna Stewart. Again, she's basically like the female equivalent of Kevin Durant. With that type of player on your team and you're the leading scorer, that just shows how much this team trusts her, how much has improved, and how well the game goes. Because last game, Sabrina didn't score that well. I think she had 17 points in game 3 at Vegas. And of course, the Vegas pulled out the win. It was 90 to 80. It was 98 to 81, I believe, 95 to 81. So that just shows a huge difference in the impact that having a successful player like Sabrina Ionescu on the team makes for a team to ultimately get to a finals. So my prediction for today is that you're going to see some bounce back games from both Breanna and Sabrina. I strongly suggest that if you guys are putting anything down as far as parlays, starting with the Liberty. It's not that I don't have faith in the Aces. Aces are one of my teams right behind the Sparks. I'm pulling for the Aces personally, but I believe that there is enough in the tank. This is a championship built team. Again, you go back a couple years ago when you had the trades, you had the signings, and the forming of the New York Liberty. It started out as a team that was led by Sabrina Ionescu, and while she was coming off of those great seasons at UConn, and while she was definitely hitting and building this team up, they weren't getting over the hump through the playoffs and so on and so forth. A couple years later, add some seasoning. Here we go. I would definitely love for you guys to put that as one of the first bets, as a straight bet. New York Liberty taking game 4 today to head to the WNBA finals. Now, on the other side, we have Minnesota Lynx at Connecticut Sun. Talked about it over and over and over and over again. Guys, the Minnesota Lynx, number 2, just came out pants on fire, absolutely torching the league, averaging somewhere about 83 points a game in that second half. Nafisa Collier, an absolute force. Saw her from the Olympics, saw her after the second half. I don't know how much more I need to pound this home for y'all. Minnesota Lynx are taking it, y'all. These are two very defensive-minded teams. But again, you have Minnesota with a coach of the year, executive of the year, back WNBA champion, multiple time champion, head coach of the WNBA of the women's Olympics team, coaching this Minnesota Lynx team to what looks to be a possible championship contender. I mean, they weren't on the radar when we started the season as far as getting there. It was all roads led to Vegas versus Aces, and Vegas dropped the ball on that one. Minnesota picked it up and took off with it. They're dunking from the 3-point line at this point. And shout out to the Connecticut Sun. Shout out to Lisa Thomas, Dejanay, and so on and so on. Luana Bonner. Look, that's a dope team in Connecticut. Very defensive-minded sound, and I just don't think they have enough firepower to combat with what Minnesota's bringing right now, and they're so well coached. I mean, don't get me wrong. Connecticut Sun, again, they started out season hot. They showed the league that, hey, you need to be talking about us, particularly in those highlight games featuring those rookies, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. They showed hey, we know how to hoop too. We got hoopers on here too. But Connecticut essentially stole game 1 on a lower scoring game. It was a 73-70 game, and it came down to the wire for that game. Then Minnesota comes back. They win game 2. Minnesota comes back and obliterates Connecticut on game 3. And I just think for a team that's averaging that many points in Minnesota, it's hard for me to bet against Minnesota for today's game. I think Minnesota closes it out, hits 3 straight. Let's go home. Let's wait for the whoever we're going to be facing against. And that's going to be, I think it's going to be New York Liberty versus Minnesota for a best of 5 winner take all. So if you guys are laying your tickets today, 2 game, boom, boom, straight bets. It's New York Liberty, Minnesota. Probably one of the few champions in the whole state of Minnesota. So, with that being said, let's build some tickets. Okay, so we built some I have a couple pre-built today. So if you guys have your apps open, your phones ready, let's shoot on over to Prize Picks. And before we get too into that, let me just go ahead and just give you a quick reminder about our sponsor. Here we go.
Here we go.
Of course, that is our sponsor, Drafters app. Don't forget to use the code TSA Bets. Match your initial deposit up to $100. Build your tickets with Drafters app. Thank you, sponsors out there. Appreciate you. Now we Android users don't get to use Drafters yet, but we are going to be doing that eventually. So don't worry about it, because we will be helping you guys on that as well for your fantasy bets. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and hit some lines on Prize Picks. First one, got a little 3-player parlay for you guys. Brianna Stewart, this is going to be first half parlay. Again, we talked about the Vegas versus Aces game, which is that 12 o'clock game, Pacific Standard Time, Vegas versus Aces. Two players that I'm looking at, Brianna Stewart and Chelsea Gray. Got the points on both of them. Brianna Stewart at 10.5 points, bet the over. Absolutely believe that she's going to come out firing because she had a flat game for game 3. Might have put a little bit into why the score was so big and the scoring disparity was so large. But I believe Brianna Stewart comes out firing just to prove that nope, still got it. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere. She's a seasoned vet like that, and I believe that today is a great bounce back game and an opportunity for her to hit that line again, 10.5 on the points, betting the over Brianna Stewart. Second player is the is the point guard, Chelsea Gray, who's got the best court vision that we've seen in some years, in probably about the last 2 or 3 years. Point guard of the Las Vegas Aces, Chelsea Gray. Her points, she doesn't score a lot. She sets up everyone on the team so well. So her line is pretty low at 5.5 points for the first half, which is about normal. I'm just going to go ahead and take a chance because her scoring was actually the difference in the success of Vegas getting that, surviving that elimination game at home the other day. I believe that that's going to happen again. So I put the over at the 5.5. It was just a second. We're going to continue building this ticket. Give me one moment. All right. Yeah. Perfect. All right. So yeah, over on the 10.5, over on the 5.5 for Chelsea Gray. Duana Bonner, Connecticut Sun. Mentioned her earlier. Again, Connecticut Sun are on this an elimination game later today at 2 o'clock. She is the forward guard for Connecticut Sun. And the scoring is a little bit all over the place, but I'm taking a chance here for Connecticut because you never know who's going to be that consistent double-digit scorer. And usually it's a second half type of thing for Connecticut as far as getting up into that 70-point range. How that point spread is shared, it just depends on how the game flows. But I picked Duana Bonner because she's a little bit more consistent. 7.5 was in line, picking the over on that. So, again, it's a 3-player ticket. That's Sabrina Ionescu, Chelsea Gray, Duana Bonner. First half, overs on all of them. If you guys have different lines, you guys play something different, make sure to leave it in the comments. We'll go back and check that, figure out what happened and why, kind of break that down for later on. So that'll be our first ticket for today. Second ticket that we built, full game for both games, all WNBA. Asia Wilson, PRA at 38. And I mentioned this earlier. It's only hit in that super high 30 range, maybe a couple. She's getting 36, 35, 36. She hit that 39 one time, and then that one time it was a push. So I took the under on PRA for 38. Again, I believe that she's going to come out and hit on all cylinders, but teams are doubling down. They're breaking down on her. And it's going to come from somewhere else. So I think that 38 is going to be really hard to get. It's a super high number considering what they need out of Asia Wilson as far as scoring today. So she won't be completely focused on hitting open players and getting rebounds. She's pretty good percentage around the paint. So not a lot of rebounds to be had there. So I'm betting the under on that line. That's 38 PRA full game. Next player, mentioned her earlier, and her success and her improvement, Sabrina Ionescu. 28.5 on the PRA. And again, it's possible for Sabrina to eclipse 28.5. Again, if you compare Asia Wilson and you compare Sabrina, again, both star players, right? But that 10 total difference in that line is more about how much Sabrina is going to bounce back from that last game more than oh, we don't believe that she can actually hit that high, because she's capable. We mentioned before how she's smashed and delivered on being over on that 28. But it's just crazy to think that there's this line out there for Asia Wilson that's been up there this whole entire time, where it's been 37, 38, 39. And it's just so much harder for her to get because of the way that the game is played. So I believe that someone like Sabrina Ionescu, who scores from different parts of the area, who's much more responsible for the ball and getting players open, has a higher chance of getting an over on the lower line. Over on the 28.5. Next, played a Goblin. If you guys are familiar with the Demons and Goblins for Prize Picks, basically what that means is that we teased it up or teased it down as far as the line is concerned. And for this one, we teased it down 4.5 as the line for rebounds for Dewana Bonner. Bet the over on that one. I believe 5 boards are not that hard to get, although boards are dime a dozen in this series. That, again, doesn't seem, it sees about the 150, 155 range in scoring. So you're seeing 70, 80 points, seeing a lot of missed boards. Both teams love to clog the paint, but I believe Dewana Bonner is one of those players that can hunt down enough rebounds to get us over his 5 boards. We'll come back to this next week and see how cocky I am in this decision. But over on the 4.5 rebounds, and then last but not least, Kayla McBride, a player that we don't talk about enough. We don't talk about our rooks enough, man. Kayla McBride on Minnesota. Probably won't see a lot of playing time, but she definitely does get in there and affects the game when she does. Her line right now is 2.5 rebounds. It's more of the time on the court and the way that both teams are playing right now. And it's like, you don't have time or space for it. So we're just doing 2.5 rebounds. And I know it's a very, very low line as far as the number is concerned, but given where she's at as far as the depth chart and their playing time and how things are going, I'm betting the under on this one. Under 2.5, and that's not a tease down. That's the line, 2.5. So if you guys get a higher line than that, it's possible that someone else may be injured, or maybe they're switching it up and they think that Kayla can affect the game or help close it out for Minnesota. But I'm betting the under on this one, and we'll come back to that and see how that goes. And then of course we gave you our picks, our predictions. So if you guys are over on Fliff, 2-ticket parlay. Betting New York and Minnesota today. Boom, boom. In fact, we flip on over there right now. Flip on over to Flip. We'll see what the plus minus that gets us. WNBA. Okay, straight bets for. So New York Liberty right now, straight bet is plus 120. Minnesota to close out plus 105. So plus 351 on there, but I'm betting on both of them. They're both surprisingly the underdogs, because again, all the teams are tough. If you went the other way and you bet the Aces and Connecticut, that'll give you plus 172. Vegas straight bet minus 170. Connecticut Sun minus 140 for those. The spread for Vegas and Aces is 2.5. Minus 2.5 for Vegas, and for Connecticut Sun, it's minus 1.5. Again, those games with Minnesota versus Connecticut have been super close, but again, just letting y'all know where we're at for both. I know you guys are excited. You guys are like, what is he going to say next? It's about time to talk about some NBA, y'all. Been holding off for weeks on end, and I know I promised you guys that we're going to talk about it. Hoops for the NBA has started, y'all, and preseason is here. It's on its way. We're on our way to the start of the 2024-2025 NBA season, and I have a headache right now. I listened to Sirius XM in the morning on my way to work, because I got a day job and all that crazy stuff. And what I cannot understand is how we went from a great Olympics season, some crazy trades. We haven't discussed New York or Cat yet, to, oh, it's all about a revenge tour for the Boston Celtics, particularly with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I don't get it because they won. There's gold medals involved. And all of a sudden they're mad. I think what it is that these shows are trying to find ways to motivate us and to motivate the Boston Celtics into trying to repeat and go back to back. And again, I just talked about the Aces trying to three-peat and how hard that is. Teams gear up. Some GMs, they tool with certain players to scheme to be able to beat the champion at that time. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. The Boston Celtics, for the most part, just ran it back. They got some guys coming back healthier this season, so we'll see how that's going to go. So they're coming back bigger, better, stronger. But we put it up in the predictions post, which we'll get to in a little bit. Boston Celtics are going to be successful, not as successful as last year, but I still don't get the revenge tour. And anyway, those guys are playing over in Abu Dhabi right now. So if you guys have a chance, make sure you tune in there for the preseason games, preseason kickoff. Lakers playing over in Abu Dhabi as well. Got some Warriors action going on. This season is going to be what a lot of people feel to be a swan song for a lot of teams, for a lot of players. So we think we might be seeing the last of Steph Curry as a Warrior, or possibly in the league. Can't wait to see how that pans out for that team, because we're not exactly sure what Steve Kerr is doing with that team, or if he's going to retire or step back after coaching what was essentially Mark Jackson's budding championship team from, I think it was 2014, just building that up. We'll see what happens with that story. And we talk about this team in sort of like a boogeyman sort of sense. And if you follow at IDP underscore Iggy, or Ignacio or Iggy on X, and you follow any of his hoops talk, he is a huge proponent of Denver. He's the number one. He's one of their biggest fans. And one of the things that he has been reposting, if you guys have been following him and paying attention, and some of the stories and storylines, and again, the guys on Sirius XM all the way on down to us have been talking about the same thing, that one of the teams that should have been there last year, it made absolutely no sense how this broke down and how this happened. They were one half away from essentially pushing on to the NBA Finals. The Denver Nuggets, y'all. The Denver Nuggets is one of those teams that teams look at, like, especially for me as a Lakers fan, it's like, do we just drop this game against these guys so that way we can move on? Because Nikola Jokic is that dude. He hasn't stopped being that dude. He's been that dude for 4 seasons. That time in the bubble, the only reason why that it worked, that the Lakers got that work against them, is because they had 2 extra bodies to essentially just throw at him. Shout out to Frank Vogel for that strategy, because that's literally the only way that you can stop Jokic, is by literally holding him down, by physically holding him down. Other than that, and I know that we talk about the health of Jamal Murray and what this team is not bringing back, because of course KCP is gone. Of course, we're still wondering about the back of Michael Porter Jr., how Aaron Gordon is going to bounce back this season after basically kind of just being sort of more injury riddled in the second half of last year. It's just how this team is going to bounce back. Of course, they added speed. They got Russ back. So that's going to be huge for them. They've lost some pieces, but still, everyone fears the leadership and the ability of Nikola Jokic to be able to carry this team, and playing And in Mile High City, I mean, if you guys have been watching any of that preseason game that Brody had played yesterday, you could see what type of style this team is going to be doing. They're going to start throwing the kitchen sink at teams. And for teams like Asian teams like the Lakers, for a team like Minnesota that just lost one of their younger, better stars in Karl Anthony Towns, would absolutely make no sense against teams that aren't as seasoned like Portland. Again, if you're a seasoned veteran team and you learn how to play with speed and efficiency like Denver is going to, that is a very dangerous team. I mean, no one's really talking about them coming back to the NBA Finals, and I think it's because if we don't say it, it won't be true. So we don't want to put that energy out there, but there is an absolute fear of Denver in the league right now. And the season hasn't even started yet, y'all. Like, Jokic is barely, I would say he's barely played a game, but if you are actually watching the Olympics, you know that he's been that dude for a while. So yeah, he's gonna come out ready. Hopefully he gets rid of that goatee of his, because he's looking like a super villain off of Minions or something like that. So there's that for the NBA. Just that little teasing that little bit. Also want to give you guys some predictions that we've set up. Also built some tickets up for the season on Prize Picks. Okay, so we can give you a little bit of that too. You guys don't have to set them yet, but these are some of the lines that I played for the season. They're all season averages. Okay, so to kick it off, we talked about Chef Steph. Chef Curry, points per game average at 26.5. I put that on the over. I think this is going to be, again, a swan song season. I think that there are going to be a lot of games where they're just going to need Steph to come out and fire. And I think those games are going to help carry his average over, even though they're not going to completely translate to wins. Anthony Davis had a phenomenal season last season from a health perspective. Played 79 out of the 82 games, which is absolutely crazy. Most games he's played, I believe, since his time in New Orleans, as his time as a rookie. Line is 12.5 rebounds a game. I believe he's going to go under that. I believe whatever the Lakers and what JJ Redick are doing to try to set him up, to try to set the team up to where they have someone to play the center position a lot more, I believe Anthony Davis is going to be required to score a lot more efficiently and a lot more, taking the rebounds away from him, telling him, don't worry about getting bodied in the paint and having to fight for those boards. Get in there, shoot your ball, get out. So I think I put the under on the 12.5. Although there were a lot of games last year towards the end where he was getting 12, 13, 20 rebounds even. It was absolutely insane. But I think we're going to get the under for this one. It's going to be around the 12.1 range. Victor Wembanyama for the season, 11.5 rebounds per game. I bet the over on that one, because I believe the kid's a double-double machine. If anything, his length in and of itself is going to help him start to get those boards. It might be a slow start, but it's going to be a great finish because he's got Chris Paul on the team, and that guy leads any type of lottery team to the playoffs. And if you don't believe me, just look at every team that Chris Paul has been on since he's been on Houston. Okay, playoffs. This man has taken teams from let to ing, and he's always does what he's asked, especially when it comes to building up other players, specifically Victor Wembanyama, who's going to be a boarding machine. 11.7 is the line, but the over on that for the season. Now, LeBron James. I don't know what kind of work he's been putting in the offseason. I don't know if he's been putting in work on the offseason, but his line right now is 2.3 3-pointers made per game. And I bet the under on that one. I could not have hit it faster. Again, there are some times every now and then where LeBron James is just on fire from outside the arc. But he doesn't have a consistent 3-point shot. I believe he's good for 1, maybe 2, but not every game. And he's not going to be required to, because those 3-pointers are going to go to someone else that has a higher percentage of 3-point shooting, higher volume of 3-point shooting. So I bet the under on that one for the season. Again, 2.3 is the line. Bet the under on that one. But hey, the king could prove me wrong. A lot of things could happen this season. I mean, Cat got traded to New York. which we're gonna unpack in just a moment. So you guys hold on to your seats, okay? Anthony Edwards now doing solo dolo, ain't got no cat no mo. 27.2 points average per game. Now I built this ticket before the trade. I built this ticket before the trade, y'all. So I put the under on 27.2 points per game for Anthony Edwards. But after that Olympics stint, after his season for Minnesota, and now that Cat's gone, if you guys have a chance to bet the over on that line, if you still get 27.2, bet the over. I mean, 28 for Anthony Edwards is not that hard. He's going to be required to score. It's going to be the team's not going to. We're going to have to readjust the win totals this season. It's not going to adjust. It's not going to go to as many wins. Yes, he's got Julius Randle on the team, who's a disruptor, who can play multiple positions, forwards, and possibly center position if they want to go small, because they still got Rudy Gobert there. Yes, they got Vincent DiVincenzo now in that trade, who's great for 3-point shooting, which will allow Anthony Edwards to kind of spread the ball around a lot more. But I think that this team is going to be highly dependent on him being that dude, being a 30-point dude. And so I believe that I know the ticket that I have right now says under, but the over would not be a bad smash right now. Last but not least, Nikola Jokic, the Joker, assists per game. Now, this is taking a chance because the line is 9.2, and we all know that he's good for if he wanted to. Nikola Jokic could average a triple double like Russell Westbrook did seasons ago for his MVP season. I believe that it's going to be under for that line for assists per game at 9.2. Mainly because the weapons around him right now aren't that strong, and we're not exactly sure what's going to happen this first half of the season and how Coach Malone is going to make adjustments for Jokic to be able to continue to do what he does, which is disrupt the paint, score at a high level, and then distribute the ball where the ball needs to be, because he's got great vision to set up players. I mean, you saw it if you watch a preseason game and you saw Russell Westbrook take that very, very nice three-pointer. Again, his form looks great now. So, Iggy, shout out to you for picking up a good one. But if you get it's a question of if all the players are going to be able to do exactly what happened in that sequence, which was Jokic driving in, finding Brody over in the on the wing for a nice three-pointer. Hopefully we see a lot of that, but I believe that it's going to be an under just because the first half is going to be so hard for trying to get that rhythm and everything going. So I'm sticking by that. A lot of you that watch him work probably got the fear of God in you. Will either stay away from that line or bet the over. If you do, let me know. More power to you either way. But that is our that's our one of our season tickets. We'll probably try to build another one coming up later. Before we get into a bunch of TSA stuff that's going to be happening throughout the season, let me remind you guys that again, this show happens every Sunday. If you guys have something specifically that you want to talk about, or if you feel like you can get on the mic, make sure to hit me up, DM me, send me a message on X. You can hit up at JC Money Design if you having trouble getting a hold of me, because that's one of the heads of the Hydra here. At IDP_Iggy, at SoCal Ball Nerd for Evan. Again, hit those guys up, running the ship, helping me over here doing TSA hoops stuff. Just get at me. Let me know what you need or what you're looking at, because we want to make sure to get it to you. We have a lot of stuff coming this season. We want to make sure that you guys get in where you can fit in, get yourself comfortable, so that way you can enjoy this season to the fullest. Okay. All right, let's talk about what's coming up for TSA, y'all. So for the season, you guys make sure that you tune into thesportsaffiliation.com. And let me just go ahead and give you a look at the website so far. The sports. Let's just go ahead and bring you guys along with me. Share screen on this new tab. Share. And we're going along to thesportsaffiliation.com. Okay, so if you guys are coming to the site and you see that we got some nice little basketball stuff here, yeah, this doesn't look like much, but trust me, there's actually a lot more here than what you think, because let's go ahead and look us up. Search for me. Bam. You find me, you look for one of the writers here, and you can see that we got a bunch of stuff going on here. We got the breakdown for the season. Oh, we're doing that now. Oh, this is awesome. I did not know that we were doing this now. But anyway, if you're looking for any type of basketball advice, we're going to be under fantasy basketball advice. Got a bunch of articles coming up there. Make sure that you guys do subscribe to the website though, because in case you guys are missing any info, what we're going to be doing is actually we're going to be providing you all with stuff for weekly for your fantasy. We're going to be doing recaps and predictions on how teams are going to be doing for the rest of the season. So if you guys need anything as far as your games to bet, it's going to be a great place to go. We're going to be giving you fantasy advice as well. A lot of fantasy advice, not just daily stuff, but how to build your teams, how to correct the ship, so that way you can win your leagues this season. It's going to be super important. We have our own TSA fantasy league. We're going to be putting the link in the comments below at the end of this show. So make sure to go there, and we're going to be setting it up with who do we got our teams with today, boss? Yes. Okay. So we've got our league set up on Sleeper. It's going to be a TSA focused Sleeper league, where we're going to be posting up recap articles for the week, things and players to look forward to. We're going to be featuring a winning or a player of the week. So if you have a certain strategy that you like to employ and you want to show it off, we'd love to show you guys off. That's going to be super important. If you join this league, we'd love to get your input and reasons why you're so successful, or things that didn't work for the week, because we love helping everyone build together. So that way you're not great this season, but great on seasons going forward. And we're probably going to be featuring a belt or a cup or something of some kind. Can't do a ring because, that's too expensive, and I don't love y'all that much. No, I do. But we'll probably do something that you guys can carry around and show off, like in a big way. We want to be able to, if you guys join this league, we want to make sure that you guys can show it off, because it will be the inaugural belt. Okay. We want to make sure that this thing gets passed around, that it has a history, that it looks like the title belt in WWE. Shout out to Vince McMahon and that paltry bio on Netflix. But we want to make sure that you guys have something to carry around, something with some substance that you guys can carry around. So make sure to tune in to all things TSA. Make sure to tune into the league. Make sure to tune into us and the website at thesportsaffiliation.com, where you're going to get your advice there. The other things, other things that we're bringing out, we're going to be featuring some guest content on here. I talked about a lot of fantasy stuff, a lot of daily bets. We're going to be bringing on content. We're going to be talking about a lot of content that other people are doing, where we're getting our advice as well, because we love to pull together this network and make sure that everyone is getting eyes on everything everywhere. One of the guys that we're going to be bringing on, if you aren't following him already, you should be following him on YouTube now. It's Coach Craig. He gives you your daily fantasy advice for all things daily fantasy. He's just been getting off baseball. He's been talking a little bit about football. He's going to be gearing up for basketball here soon enough, and we're going to be featuring his content, his advice, as well as advice and fantasy thoughts from others. It's going to help us with our fantasy basketball lineups, daily lineups, and if you guys are doing your DraftKings, drafters, whatever, for your daily lineups, he's going to be a great guy to go to. We're going to defer to him and bring him on the show as well. If you guys have content that you want featured, if you guys have writing pieces, you guys have advice that you want featured on the website, you make sure to hit us up, because we're going to be doing a lot of that. We're going to bring you guys all up and all together. I promise you it's going to be a great season, man. So we're going to be doing a lot of that here for TSA Hoops, TSA show. Talk about fantasy basketball, talk about the league, talk about the drops. And don't forget, last but not least, we're here every Sunday. Or at least we're going to try to be throughout the season. We got a big schedule coming up. Lots of stuff to look forward to, at least for now. What is set up Sunday through Wednesday. We're going to be doing, it's going to be content. You got the show on Sunday. We got our power rankings coming out, so you guys need to keep an eye out for that. It's going to be coming to you every Monday, every week, okay? So if you guys are subscribed to the sportsaffiliation.com, you guys will know how we feel about where teams are playing, how teams are playing, where they're ranked at so far. We got the initial one coming next week because we don't want to do it too early. Teams are still got to get adjusted. We're going to tell you guys we're going to be readjusting this season prediction, so that way we're going to repost that as well. But we're going to compare them with our team rankings and how teams are playing so far. So you guys need to make sure to tune into that. Our Tuesdays, of course, Tuesday is going to be opening day for the league. But what we're going to be doing is going to give our player power rankings, our top 15 to 30, just depending on how we're feeling for that week, players that are playing super well, and also our fantasy power rankings, because what we want to do is let you guys know what players are trending, why they're trending, and how you can get a hold of them for that week if you don't have a hold of them already. Just some players to look for if you're going with them, if you're playing with them, or if you're up against them, things you're going to be having to worry about for that week. And then about every couple weeks, we're going to be featuring some teams around the league. We're going to be talking about how they're playing, how they have been playing, the changes that they've had over the course of their time up until that point. And we're going to be featuring them to you. So if you got a favorite team that you want to be featured at, those articles are going to be coming out every other Wednesday. They're going to be coming from various writers around the sports affiliation, including myself, just to give you a little bit of variation. So yes, we are going to end up talking about the Washington Wizards. Yes, we are going to end up talking about the Chicago Bulls. Yes, we are going to be talking about the Portland Trail Blazers. And absolutely, yes, we are going to be talking about the Charlotte Hornets too, because the Charlotte Hornets, they featuring a guy in the second year in Brandon Miller. It's going to be huge fantasy year. Make sure to put him in your top 20 as far as picks this year. So that's everything TSA related. Talk about some stories this for the last couple of weeks that we have been seeing. So D Rose retired. Shout out to Derrick Rose for everything that he has brought to the league. That is one of the guys that I gotta say, when I watch him play coming out of Memphis college to I don't know what that was. My own hair, maybe. My daughter's hair. Yeah. Yum. A man gave us over a decade worth of explosive dunks, last minute shots. I mean, I know you guys remember that game winner in Minnesota, man. That brought tears to my eyes because that was a guy that we all thought was on his last legs, literally, no pun intended. Brought great winning ways with that when he paired with those teams, the Joakim Noah and Carlos Boozer led teams. I know you guys remember those teams, man. I remember those days. Those times were crazy. And all the way on down to this final season or lack thereof over in Memphis, he's given us a lot of great years, a lot of good times. And I don't think we're ever going to see an explosive guard of his caliber, again, for his height. Because I know that we have, speaking of Memphis, we have Ja Morant now, who mainly scores within the paint and just likes to dunk on everyone. But the way that Derrick Rose contorted his body, exploded what essentially looked like from the bottom of his kneecaps to just killing guys at the rim. I don't think we're going to see a guy with a body structure like that at his position. We're not going to see that for a long time. So Hopefully he'll definitely be put in the Ring of Honor in Chicago. Hopefully he gets a Hall of Fame nod some years down the line. But shout out to you. My hat to you, sir. Happy trails. Some other things around the league. Some head coach firings in the WNBA. LA Sparks fired Kurt Miller after 2 seasons in the WNBA. Atlanta Dream, after making the playoffs, fired their head coach. And the Chicago Sky fired Teresa Teaspoon after 1 year in Chicago. If you listen to Holly Rowe on the Women's Hoop podcast on Sirius XM, like I do, she actually put out an interesting theory that it's possible that these teams are gearing up for the new generation of talent. The way that these players in the WNBA are out there socially, the way that they're marketed, and because of the hype and everything else besides the basketball part for these players, and the marketability of these teams featuring these new rookies, the belief is that these organizations are gearing up to try to find coaches that match that sort of that check off those boxes as far as marketability, being able to connect with these players, these newer rookies, these players, and to be able to get the best out of them and as a total package versus just the ability to affect these players and build them up to be champions. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams perform next season, because in the Sparks, you got your draft picks. You got Rickea Jackson. You got Cameron Brink. By the way, Cameron Brink, congratulations on your engagement. If you ever watch this, Cameron Brink got injured there early on in the season. Rickea Jackson did a little bit. It definitely improved as in her rookie year. But that team was mainly is a lottery team. They lost a lot of their talent to places like Seattle, Vegas, and throughout the rest of the league. And they were left with a lot of rookies and players, and they were one of the worst teams in the league. I don't really understand with everything that's happened. You ask Kurt Miller to come and right the ship, what they're looking for in that organization. So we'll see. Chicago, I really don't know what those guys are expecting, because this is like the third coach in 3 years. And between the debacle with how they treated Skylar Diggins-Smith, with the weirdness that was happening, the will they, won't they, with Candace Parker, and not being able to keep her on, shout out to the GOAT. And with everything that was going on, particularly this season that was surrounding Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark, and Spoon basically harnessing and getting the best out of Kennedy Carter, I don't see what they want over in Chicago, because I believe that they got the best out of all those players for this particular season. They just needed seasoning, and why not give this coach and this team another chance, one more year to be able to do that. It blows my mind. I hate it when organizations do this, when they just start doing this nice little carousel of coaches saying, "Oh, we're not sure exactly what we want," and it starts at the top. So we'll see how that goes. And Atlanta firing its coach after making the playoffs, I don't know what's up with that. I don't know if they're thinking that they're just going to completely tank next season and then try to rebuild from the ground up. But what the heck? It was very hard for Atlanta to get to the playoffs, and it took everything and a tiebreaker in order for them to do that, and they made it. So I know it wasn't a successful season, but you got to the playoffs, you got to show off. Help me understand this. The first step is to be successful enough to get to the playoffs. The second step is to be able to build upon that success. Why not try to build upon that? Let's keep that going. Hey, we made it. Is it the fear of mediocrity, thinking that you're going to go from absolutely nothing to something in the season's time with the change of a head coach? Do you guys see something that I don't? GMs of these teams, if you ever watch this, please help me out because I have no idea what's going on in your league, at least as far as those teams are concerned. We know what's happening everywhere else. We got semifinal games today. We talked about the Tatum Revenge Tour. That's absolutely nothing to talk about. I believe that the WNBA's response to the racism and social media and everything that's been happening in the WNBA, I believe this is the platform to do it. I think this is the time to talk about it on this show. But I simply won't because there's not enough time to unpack that, and there needs to be a much more holistic approach to that, and I believe it needs to be a segment in and of itself. But if you guys want to have a back and forth, you can follow me at 4FApollo on X. We can have a back and forth. I'll make the post. You guys want to throw your comments on there, you want to DM me, go ahead, shout me out. We can talk about it because it's just been about time for leagues everywhere. Actually, let me say this. The fact that it's being addressed in the WNBA is new, particularly for that league, but it is a thing that happens all across sports. Not to normalize it, but to say that the fact that the WNBA has a magnifying glass on it because of its approach to trying to tackle these issues, it should be a beacon of light for the other leagues to do the same. And I'm talking about the big four in our country, starting with the NBA, because, of course, being pioneers in everything social that happens within this country from a sports perspective, the NBA should be leading that. There should be a statement from the NBA, not speaking for the WNBA, but speaking in its defense of this league that is going to see record numbers next season. MLB does its thing. It's global. NHL does its thing. But as far as media is concerned, it doesn't get that much media, but it still should be making some statements. And of course, NFL seasons right now. We had that time years ago with Colin Kaepernick, and we was telling y'all like things are happening, and we were split down the aisle on that, but it's a real thing. So if you guys have an opportunity to discuss it, put it in a positive light, be able to attack this, get on and tag me, okay? Man, we actually got through a lot today. Hey, good job, everyone. Jesus, man, that was a lot for this week. I hope you guys brought your notepads out because I don't got anyone dictating this for me. What I will like to say is we need to go ahead and look at some tickets, look at some comments from a couple weeks ago, see if you guys have left anything for us to address. Oh, let's see. Last night, I had an argument. Nope. Nothing. You guys need nothing. So if you guys ever want to hit us up with something, leave us a comment below, subscribe, make sure to like this channel. We're actually going to go ahead and get out of here because that's it for the day. You guys got your tickets. Make sure you go get your money. Post those tickets up under this post on X. Make sure to let us know how we are doing. Actually, you know what? Let's see who's hit us up on X just in case before we get out of here. Running out of here like I owe somebody some money. Oh, just one comment from Hot Take. Give us the fire emojis. Appreciate you. You guys go back and watch this later. You know what? That's it. We're out of here. All right. You guys make sure to tune in next week. We will be in the WNBA finals. We'll be 1 week away from the season jumping off for the NBA. It'll be time for us to get a bunch of guests on here. We're going to bring a lot of people on here, and there might be some talk about trying to do 2 shows a week or extending the show beyond the hour that we normally do. So if you guys are ready for some hoops, Now is the time. I'm sure your favorite team right now is 0-4. Your fantasy team is probably decimated with injuries for football. Get on the hoops, baby. It's time. It's time. Let's get it. I love you guys. Appreciate you for tuning in. That is our show today. You guys take care of yourself. Have a great Sunday. I'm going to go watch some hoops, actually. Kobe.